They're telling you that you're safer. Let's talk a little bit more about condoms. And I take this risk because I don't believe that these people that are telling you about condoms have used them. And I have the inimitable experience of having been yelled at by a blue ribbon nurse for this, for something that I said in the newspaper about condoms. And I asked her some of these questions that I'm about to ask you. Okay, first of all, when the condom gets used, it's, okay, let's say it's lubricated on the outside, the guy's dry, the girl's, as soon as she's got bodily fluids that are ever increasing, and then the bodily fluids, when orgasm is happening, bodily fluids tend to flow. And the guy's fluids flow and the girl's fluids flow, and then they're done. Inside the condom are most of the guy's bodily fluids, and at the base of the male organ, it's wet. And I don't mean to gross you out, but it is, it's wet. And that's not him. It's a little bit of her too, because bodily fluids flow on both sides. I'm not surprising anybody, you know this, okay? Now, when I remove the condom, and first of all, this is medically unsafe practice. When the nurse was talking to me, I asked her, when you remove infected material from another human being, do you do that with your bare hands? They said, no, you don't. Of course, you have to wear latex rubber gloves. You have to. If you know you're dealing with an AIDS patient, by the way, and I've talked to several nurses about this, they cover themselves with goggles, with a breather from head to toe, rain gear. They cover their hands with 3 pairs of gloves, 3 pairs of latex gloves. And then they remove the infected material, or they do the blood, or whatever it is that they can do with the AIDS patient. They need to protect themselves, and then, of course, they know that there's still a risk of infection. Now, when they hand out condoms in the high schools, are they handing out rubber gloves as well? I'm shocked. And I asked her, why don't you hand out rubber gloves? Do you really think that you're advocating safe medical procedure here? She says, well, it helps. I said, tell me how. Okay, so now we've got the infected stuff, and the guy's going to remove it in an unsafe, medically unsafe way. He's going to remove it with his bare hands. There's liquid there, and liquid up and down his organ. What's going to happen? It is, I know, they don't tell you this, but a suction motion then takes place. It is called, what do they do when you're taking the gas outside, you're siphoning? It's a siphoning action, and it draws the infection. If the girl's infected, the guy is dead meat. If the girl's infected, the guy's had. They don't tell you that. Now, the way that you might be able to avoid that is for you both instantly, as soon as you're done, before his juices can collide with her juices, for you both to get up, take the sheets, and say thank you very much, because you have to be polite. Take the sheets and make sure that they get in disinfectant solution. Any clothing that has been contaminated has to be disinfected. He goes and takes a disinfectant bath. She goes and takes a separate disinfectant bath. Aren't you getting romantically involved with my speech? Don't you feel the love involved in this to be safer? Then the risk is less. If he has washed himself and disinfected himself before removing it with rubber gloves, the risk is less. But the siphoning action is the same, and you still can't guarantee the results. Why don't they tell you this in health class? They don't tell you that there is a puddle on the sheets when you're done. And they're not just his juices. They're hers, and juices mingle, and you're lying in it. They don't tell you that a condom doesn't do a thing for herpes. And if a herpes manifests when a child is being born in vaginal delivery, then the child gets it, and there are all kinds of complications with herpes, and they don't tell you that. Condoms can't help you with that. And herpes don't always manifest, and you don't always know you've got it. That's okay. Don't you feel safer now, knowing that your friends are using condoms? No. Somebody's got to tell them the truth and get them to think about it. See, when you were born, more was happening than you've taken into account. I first stepped into this world in 1954, so you can figure out what's happening. I'm going to turn 40 in a couple of days. But you know something? That's not when I first came into this world. I first came into this world in 1923, when my mother was born. because she came in with fully developed eggs in her ovaries, one of which was me, 1923. And they've come to the point now where they can take a girl fetus, a girl child, before she's born, they can remove the eggs from her ovary, abort the child in an operation, take those eggs, fertilize them, and produce another human being. They can do that. One of the fears of the anti-abortion people is that they start harvesting eggs for infertile women to be able to have babies. And so the world will be producing children whose mothers died before they were born. At least the mother whose genetic material the child carries, that mother was destroyed before that mother was brought to birth. And that's happening in this world today. I came in an ovary in 1923. I was in my mother's body during any sexual encounter that she had during the time of her dating in the 30s. And I understand from her that they did date in the 30s, just like they, and things did happen. And I was there, in her belly. And then the time came when it was my turn to come out, and at that time my mother and my father met, and you know what happened, and here I am. And you're the result of that same thing. Your first manifestation in this world was in your mother's womb, and that is something that doesn't get taught often enough, because life is awesome when you think about that. God had you. One in a million eggs was you. And your name was on that one, and he had you in his eyes and you in his mind when he brought you into the world. Sex, cheapened to mutual orgasm, ruins the romance of being able to bring a kid in. There is something about one-person marriage, one-person sex, that kids that have been sexually active have been robbed of, and you who are virgins may never hear of unless you listen real closely tonight. If you have the good fortune of being a virgin when you get married, and you have the good fortune of marrying a virgin, the two of you will have seen into the future from long before you met and prepared yourselves for a gift that surpasses anything that the TV media is offering. Okay? And I can't tell you about it because I didn't foresee my wife. I have 4 children, you should see them. Okay? The most beautiful children I've ever seen. And I'm not saying that because I'm their father, I'm saying that because I married a Swedish woman who's one of the most beautiful women I ever saw in my life, and she makes beautiful kids. And I didn't see them when I was being an idiot in high school, and went on beyond being an idiot in college. I didn't see what I was forfeiting. Let me tell you something. I can tell you what happens to you after you've had sex. You have created for yourself a memory, an image that is so intimate, that is so deep, that is so heavy, it never goes away. And you will carry that into the next bed that you flop into, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I heard a statistic the other day, and I haven't been able to verify it, but I believe this. College men and women, or married men and women, I'm not even sure how it goes, they were taken aside. Because married men and women, what it was men and women who had not been sexually pure before they got married. And the results of the poll was this is the whole upshot of it. The men who had several partners before they got married missed the variety. The women were turned off by sex. That's like Twilight Zone, to be turned off by sex. I can't even grapple with that thought. But I know it's true, because I've talked with many whom that has become a reality.